Aloha, my name is Tim Garcia. I'm an artist that is lucky enough to live and work on Maui, and this is some of my artwork. We're going to discuss a little bit about it. I work in stone, wood, and some metal, and our discussion is going to talk about shape. The shape of these forms and how I get about making them, the process, and what goes into trying to make a beautiful sculpture. My process, whether it be wood or stone, always starts with drawings. I do not free carve, which means I go to the stone or the wood and just start hacking away. And what I try to achieve as I'm shaping the piece is balance and beauty through the curves of the forms that I make, the shapes that I do. And it's a matter of slowly working away at the material. Taking away is what I do, which sculpture is about. It's taking away materials to release the form that's inside. One of the ways I do that in shaping this is that I will add negative space. It's a very important aspect in my work, whether it's a little carved line, a little hole, whether it's the edges on the piece that creates shadow play and changes your view plane when you look at the works. Those are all thoughts that go into my work. And the process of shaping the stone or wood to get to there is a real important, real dynamic part of it. If I think I'm successful, it's the balance of the line, how it relates with the negative space, how the edges define it, and does it call you in when you look at it to come closer, to explore more, and to touch. If it's done that, then I have succeeded in what my goal was set out for in the beginning. My love for negative space, as you can see in everything around me, pretty much here, predominates most of my work. About 85–95% I'll have negative space somewhere in it. And for me, what it does is it brings the exterior area around the work into the work itself. But at that same time, it causes you to focus on a spot on the sculpture and let your exploration begin there. Your eyes will originally go straight to the hole, and then you will start to notice everything else about it. The balance of the lines, the thickness, texture, different variances in the wood. We have moved away from the gallery and we're in my studio now where I create the artwork. It's on the same property. So what we're going to show is a few of the tools that I use. For the hand tools, it's all hammers and chisels. So it's these little teeth chisels that I use to chip away. Here are flat chisels that break off bigger pieces. And as we move along, we go through different stages of files that have different shapes and teeth grit to grind it down before we get to the polished stage. Before we get to that, I use different sizes of angle grinders with diamond tipped round blades on them to cut. So this block started off actually as a cube, a square. This round form, everything was taken away with hammer and chisel. This negative space was all taken away with the grinding and making cuts and then knocking them out with the hammer and chisel. The edge there, it's sharp. I want that to flow. We're going to take that away right now. So I'm going to cement the cuts, and I'm just going to take a little bit of the mat away so you get the idea. Same thing, I took all of that away. question for you all, do you feel that the sculpture really influences and changes the dynamic of the room? Or does the space around in the room change the dynamic of the sculpture?
Wow, how amazing was that? Let's create our own sculpture. I don't have any angle grinders with diamond-tipped blades or a giant hunk of marble to carve, so let's use a different material, paper. We're also going to use a pencil, scissors, and a little bit of tape. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the bottom of the paper and fold it up about 2 parts of your finger or 1.5 inches, and then we're going to turn it sideways and fold it up this way too. Now we're going to do an interesting little fold where we overlap the paper down here in that corner so that it will create a shape. And I'm going to tape that little bit in the corner. The paper will almost stand up. Yep, not quite. So I'm going to do another fold over here, and that same little overlap, I'm going to take this narrow part of the paper and pinch it there, press it down with my fingers, and then put a little bit of tape hidden on the bottom so that no one knows it's there. And now my paper stands up. This is going to become your marble stone that you will carve. It has many sides to it, and we can look at it and think, how will we take paper away to turn this into an interesting sculpture? It's not very interesting yet, but it will get there. Before carving, Tim Garcia draws out his idea, and so we're going to do that too. I'm going to look at what shapes my stone is made out of. This view here is a little different than the one I'm looking at, but still it has that rectangle on the front and then 2 sides to it. And of course there's other angles I could look at it too, but I'm going to just draw one of those views for now, and then I'm going to think. Tim Garcia uses negative space a lot. He has holes in his work. I'm going to choose what shape hole I want to have and where I want to put it. I can even try out a couple different ideas here, but I think I like the idea of having it right here. Make sure your hole isn't too big. Your sculpture still needs to be able to stand up when we're done. And then I'm going to think about where else I can take paper away that is going to make this a beautiful shape. Tim Garcia is always looking for balance and beauty. And so I'm having a large chunk coming out from one side that sort of balances the shape of the whole. And so I think I know how I want to change the shape of my stone here. I'm going to start drawing the shapes onto my paper. I'm looking at how they go across the paper, just like in my drawing. The lines that go across the edges, I can have that line go across the edge in the same spot. That will help me know where to cut. So you see how that shape is going across there? And I'm making sure that there's still lots of the base attached so that this piece stands up. My hole goes across one of the edges. That makes it easier to cut out later. I'll show you why. I think I have my form sorted out. Now I am going to cut. I'm going to take my scissors and carefully go along those lines. I'm going to go nice and slowly. This footage is a little bit sped up, so take your time and be careful on those edges. Sometimes it helps to go from one side and then the other. Leave as much of the base as you can. Take off any pieces that get in your way and go carefully around smooth edges and go across the line. And that one's going okay right there. And the last little bit I'm going to take off, leave a lot of the base so it stands up, and then the hole. See if I fold it right there, do a little snip, and then I can put my scissors right through the hole and cut around so that my shape comes out, and then I'm going to have that nice hole, that negative space, somewhere for the eye to notice. And I might have some pencil marks, so I'm carefully erasing them, putting my hand underneath the sculpture so I don't flatten anything I don't want to flatten. And then I'm just about there. I get to see how my sculpture looks in different locations, how it changes, and how the locations feel different. And I get to do my favorite thing with sculpture. They're three-dimensional, so we can see them from every different angle. Notice how you can see different shapes every time I turn the sculpture. Different shapes are visible. It keeps changing. And outdoors, the paper itself has a different feeling. Marble feels different under different lighting, and indoors or outdoors too. Even though we didn't use stone like Tim Garcia, we didn't use diamond cutting tools, we still created a sculpture using shape. What are you going to make next? I can't wait to see it.